Bases dropped on another round of Soccer's morning show. Soccer Down here. John here, you there. No $20 fine this morning. Remembered to put the wedding band on before the show started. And make sure that the evening ended the way it was supposed to and that the morning started the way it was supposed to. Unlike yesterday where if I leave the house and go do things that are not like workout-based or anything where like your hands will swell up or something, you leave your ring off just because your hands are going to get all big and mitteny. $20 fine here at the house. And at the end of the season, at the end of the year, and the boss and I both do it. And the one who violates this tenet the least gets to choose the charity that the ring money goes to. So, the wedding band is on today. John here, you there. Midweek Whiparound Wednesday wall pass. It's all here. And I'm debating doing an afternoon power hour because of all the information. It might be lunchtime, might be afternoon, might be after Champions League or something. Because of all the news of the day that we won't have the chance to get to because of Midweek Whiparound and the guests and getting ready for Atlanta United, DC United. Possibly after Champions League might be a power hour and drive time. So keep an eye on all of that. So yesterday is opening kickoff, by the way, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and at kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch as I cover up the QR code that will start things off for hour number 2. Thanks to our friends at Kickoff Coffee. If you use the code SoccerDownHere15, you get 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it in youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So, yesterday was Champions League, and you had one of those rare moments, and by rare, I mean rare, rarest of rare, and it's only happened one other time until yesterday. Lazio down late to Atletico Madrid, and this happened at 90+, courtesy of our friends at Paramount Plus and UEFA, and brother, it was one of those moments.
Here's Cataldi again. Cataldi. Luis Alberto! The goalkeeper, Providel! Wow! Have you ever? Can you believe what you've seen here? The last seconds, and Lazio's goalkeeper, Ivan Providel, has levelled the game. Well, the ball came back in here. They wanted a penalty, but what they didn't expect to happen was this. Goalkeeper Providel in the right place at my word, the right time. And that is a sensational end to earn a draw for Lazio. Extraordinary. It's why we love the Champions League. That kind of thing can happen and does happen.
Slightly excited play-by-play guy, Jarrett.
Slightly excited. It makes sense why. I mean, anytime you get a goalkeeper goal, you get to see a shooting star. So, yeah, why not?
And second time only in the Champions League history. Second time that has ever happened, that you had a goalie goal. And Providel, unmarked by Atleti as he was working his way into the 18 and toward the 6 for the header. Do you think Diego Simeone stole some souls in the locker room?
Oh, they were doing W runs after that.
I mean, you're up 1-0 and a goalie goal gives you a drawn result when it comes to yeah, brother.
It's the kind of thing that I would have expected from Celtic had they not lost to Feyenoord in the Netherlands 2-0 and also had 2 red cards. Like, that whole group was drunk in 2 very different but enjoyably chaotic ways.
Enjoyably.
Because that's the other side of that group is the goalie goal.
Yep. So Lazio gets the 1 point out of the deal. And the rest of the results yesterday, Barcelona had 3 like in the first 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, it was over early over Royal Antwerp, 5-0.
My favorite thing about Barcelona that we do is that like this hand wringing of like, man, they're not gonna be able to register, they're not gonna be able to do this, they're not gonna be able to do that, and we wring our hands over Barcelona, and they're still gonna get in the Champions League and still gonna absolutely skull drag a couple teams because even if they're worse, they're still better than plenty.
Yes.
And it's a larger scale problem that that is the complaint within leagues, and then you expand it out to Champions League of like we're the top dogs like, oh man, we have so many problems, we have so many things wrong. Look, brother, if you ever think that your team is the worst and that you have it the worst situation, if you just stick your head out of the ground for a second and look around, you'll find someone who's worse. You'll find someone who's in a deeper and more specific version of hell. If you're ever feeling like, man, our team's got problems, we got this, we got that, we have no stability, what's our future? We're doomed by the universe. Oh, hey there, New England.
Yeah.
Oh, hey there, LA Galaxy.
Oof.
Although New England's bringing in Tab Ramos to be an assistant coach, I really want to see how that goes. If like Kraft is already like on a second drink, like, yeah, bring him in.
Why not?
Yeah, it's fine.
David said Celtic just got another red, by the way.
They deserve it too, man. Nobody in that game played well except for like Matt O'Reilly. Like Rayo Hatate is a joy, but dude was off the pace last night. He was like a freshman quarterback in his first game. Everything was moving too fast for him. I adore the man, but like the game was he was not up to the speed of the game. Like they were bad. The fact they got out of there, like, so here's the sequence of events in that game in case you wanted to know like how much whiskey they had.
Yes.
At one point, and so it's the first half was actually pretty even. Celtic gives up a goal. Joe Hart's 108 years old and plays like it.
True.
I really like Joe Hart in the last few years. Joe Hart's done. Joe Hart should have been given his gold watch, given a handshake, and sent to live on a farm upstate and chase squirrels. After that, Celtic gives up a second goal, which is pulled back for offside. Then they give up a penalty and a red card. Penalty is saved. Joe Hart didn't want to go up to the farm upstate that quickly. They give up a second goal anyway after that. Then they get a second red card. Then there's a third goal that is scored and then wiped away for offside. All this happened in like 15 minutes.
Wow.
Brendan Rodgers in Europe, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Like, a lot of the argument was like, well, Ange was too naive and like was playing too aggressively in Europe, and Brendan's more pragmatic. Man, Brendan, pragmatic my ass. Brendan Rodgers, like, no. When he had the budget of God compared to the rest of the world when he was at Leicester, yeah, sure, he made some runs. Won in Champions League. When you're playing at Celtic and you're playing in Europe, where you go from being the big fish to basically a prawn, yeah, it's going to go poorly for you most likely. And his last stint in Europe at Celtic was awful too. I had no expectations with this. I don't expect anything good or happy in my life with that man running that club right now, especially in Europe.
Except when maybe he decides he wants to leave.
Look, I don't know, man. Is it going to be like the Wolves job come free or somebody? Like, who's like on the bottom tier of the EPL? Who's at the bottom of the table? Who's going to fire their coach this year and decide, you know what? If we get the right guy in here right now, maybe we can rescue this thing. And somebody's going to call Brendan, and in the middle of the night, the Mayflower truck going to dip out again. And maybe this time, the leadership will be like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't bring it back for a third stint. Because ultimately, all you're doing in half of England is, again, No matter how bad you think you got it, look around. No matter how bad we talk about NFL and Major League Baseball recycling coaches and the NBA, uh, uh, both Van Gundy still keep getting jobs. No matter how much we talk about recycling coaches, I'm going to pull the curtain back and just point to the EPL for you until I burst a blood vessel.
Oof.
Because just going to keep recycling the same old schmucks.
True. That is absolutely true. Other action, and my guess is, to your point, Jarrett, it's either going to be Sheffield United, who might be looking at replacing Paul Heckingbottom, but they're also looking at Chris Wilder, talking about recycling coaches in their purview. It might have to be Wolves if they're not happy with Gary O'Neill and the budget that is there. I've always maintained that Everton, when they make their coaching change from Sean Dyche, needs to be Wayne Rooney. We'll get into Atlanta United, DC United.
Buddy.
Yeah. Coming up in
DC, again, clubs that might be in hell, DC United.
And we thank you for that. Yes. All right. So other results yesterday in Champions League. Feyenoord to -175, got the 2-0 win. You've heard the highlight of Lazio and Atleti at +220. Manchester City played with their food for a while, had like 80% possession against Crvena Zvezda, Red Star Belgrade, -14-29. They won 3-1. PSG played with their food for a little bit, won 2-0 over Dortmund. Porto and Shakhtar were tied at 1, then they weren't. All the goals were scored in the first half. Porto won at a -147. AC Milan Newcastle at a +219 was a draw, goalless draw, and then Leipzig and Young Boys. Leipzig won that one by the final of 3-1. Today, once again, 2 at 12:45, the rest at 3. Galatasaray favored at home against FC Copenhagen. Real Madrid favored at home against Union Berlin. Arsenal favored at home against PSV. Bayern Munich favored at home against Manchester United. Benfica favored at home against Salzburg. Napoli, your only, technically you're only minus favored on the road at Braga at a -130. Inter favored on the road at Real Sociedad at a +143. Your draws a +225. And Sevilla a -103 at home, taking on Lens, who is north of +303. Enjoy your viewing habits appropriately. Once again, 2 at 12:45 and 6 at 3 o'clock. So that's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And there's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Once again, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. Then you get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Bart Keeler and Reffing Down Here coming up in about 10 minutes. Bart is prepping for his trip to D.C. as apparently, and I'll have Bart explain it. There's something with ticketing and going to road games, and you can claim a road game if you're an Atlanta United season ticket holder. Bart forgot that he claimed the DC United match, and he's like, I've got to figure out how I'm traveling to DC. So I think he's flying Frontier or Carrier Pigeon or like the airline they had in the Flintstones. And then, so that's what you're staring at with Bart. So Bart's coming up in 10 minutes, and we'll go Reffing Down Here and anything else on Bart's mind when it comes to national team stuff. And I don't think we've had the chance to talk to Bart about the new headquarters of U.S. Soccer and the Herndon Stadium story, which is rather interesting as well. So we'll get into that with Bart coming up in 10 minutes as he's prepping for his trip on Frontier or whatever discount airline he's going to be taking to head north to go.
Please tell me Bart wouldn't fly Spirit.
I don't know. We'll find out. Like I said, Bart's coming
Bart,
up.
Please don't fly Spirit, buddy.
No,
we don't want to lose you to whatever Stargate opens up on a Spirit Airlines flight. I don't want to lose you there. So I do have a question.
Yeah.
And this is to Tom's point that he made. He mentioned rather having Potter than Rooney.
Right.
So, first off, I don't necessarily disagree with it. I don't necessarily disagree with Tom. Here's my question: is how much of what Rooney's doing at DC is a matter of those are the toys he has to play with right now, so he's building what he can.
Oh, absolutely, all of it.
Versus that's what he wants to do. Like, so my ultimate question being like, if you gave him a job in England, like the Everton job, how different would it be in terms of how they're playing? Because like DC is gonna play really straightforward, really long ball.
Mm-hmm.
Send it up to Rooney or send it up to Benteke. See what the hell happens. Keep it real narrow.
Mm-hmm.
Make you break it down from the outside. How
Yep.
much is that? I would love to know. I'd love to like pick his brain. He's like, hey man, is this what you want to be doing, or is this like this is what DC gave me with these Lincoln logs, and I can only make so many things with the pieces I have.
Yeah. And no, I think that he's been given what he's been given, because he has also said, and Birmingham City, actually, John Eustace, if John Eustace leaves, the ownership group at Birmingham City in the championship, they're like, we want Rooney, like yesterday. That's the group that Tom Brady invested in. So it will be interesting to see what happens with Rooney. And I know that the biggest issue is 777A. If they get approved as your partner, as your new owner, are they going to invest? And that's the biggest issue as they head to Bramley Moore Dock, the new gazillion-dollar stadium that cannot afford any kind of relegation to the championship. So that definitely cannot happen. But no, I anticipate that there's going to be some kind of a move if this lack of offense continues, and we'll see what's going on with all of that. Like I said, I'm debating an afternoon power hour just because of all the news that we're going to be rolling through. So we'll see what's going on. Juice boxes and getting you ready for the activity in Major League Soccer on your day. So we're going to go odds portal with our odds, and this way, we have the composite. And that way, it's I want to say it's 15 or 16 different juice box purveyors, 16, and they will let us all know what they think. We'll go through what we can. Then Bart shows up, and like I said, then we'll save the rest in the Atlanta United preview for the 10 o'clock hour. 7:30, CF Montreal, who no longer has Matko Miljevic on their roster, is hosting FC Cincinnati. Dead even draw on the numbers for both of these sides. Juice box purveyors have each club in the composite at a plus 161. I cannot remember the last time that happened. Draws a plus 247. Okay, it's shifting as we're talking about it in the composite. But FC Cincinnati on the road, CF Montreal at Stade Saputo, Jarrett. This one gonna be interesting.
It is, because Stade Saputo has been a fortress. It's been a tough place for teams to go get consistent wins, and it has all the makings of that. And like, the stadium is really nice. It's small. The people are loud. The people are kind of chaotic. You really don't know what you're going to get weather-wise in Montreal a lot of times. It's just a weird place to play. And I personally continue to not really trust Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Because Cincinnati has pulled a lot of things out of the fire very late in games. They have flipped a lot of results, to their credit. The fact that they have had to flip a lot of results gives me pause with Cincinnati in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get into a one-off game, and they're gonna be in one-off situation, they're gonna win the Supporters Shield almost certainly. If you get into a one-off game and you give up that early goal, and it's not regular season. Look, teams, we talk about this in basketball a lot, man. Like, when defense ratchets up in the postseason, like, teams get cagey as hell in MLS in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I worry about, because like what really doomed Atlanta, what's doomed a lot of teams, is you get into these back and forth affairs with Cincinnati, and you can't do that. You're getting into a shootout with Annie Oakley at that point.
Yes, absolutely true.
So my question then becomes, if they give up that early goal,
mm-hmm.
can they flip results in the playoffs when teams are not going to be as willing to counter them, and more composed of, hey, we'll just, if you give us a golden opportunity, I will take it, but we'll just sit. I'll take them in this game, because I think Montreal's still got stuff to work on. But yeah, man, I still have questions about Cincinnati in a playoff format.
Yep. And remember, it's different this year. I think it's 2 wins or 4 points in the best of 3. So we've got our new math this year when it comes to the playoffs. Also at 7:30, 7:39 kick across Apple. Charlotte hosting Philadelphia Union. Charlotte favored at home at a plus 138. Union are a plus 184, and your draw is a plus 254. That margin of favoritism, that's a bit of a stunner for me.
Yeah, Charlotte's like, so we did our coaching hot seat of doom.
Yes.
If they don't make the playoffs, I wonder if Latanzio's on it as well and where he is on it.
Absolutely. No, I think
because you've gone out and gotten pieces, and like, hey, another like subplot to look at this year is going to be what happens to Karol Swiderski, because he's talked about going back to Europe and talked about not really playing in a position he loves. So maybe keep an eye on what happens with Karol Swiderski in the offseason, because if he wants to go back to Europe and Charlotte sells him and they're able to bring in a designated player that plays in a different position other than where you also have Enzo Capetti, maybe you kind of reinforce that team in different ways.
Yep. And I think you're spot on. I think Latanzio is he's on that list. I think he's on that list, no question about it. And Ricky reminds us that if Atlanta United beats DC, they clinch the Southern Championship belt. Is that kind of like the Intercontinental title or the TV title?
We really need to resurrect Mean Gene to present the belt and to do the backstage interview with like the really shitty blue backdrop.
Oh, that
and just screaming, "Look at all the garbage in this ring.
Look at the garbage in this ring." Exactly.
And no, he was not talking about the Big Sexy's in-ring work.
No, he was not. But look at all the garbage in this ring. I need to get that drop, by the way.
That's a wonderful drop. Just don't get sued by Vince. Yeah, man. Like, but at the same time, if Charlotte makes the playoffs, I don't know if we're having that conversation. They're fine.
Yeah.
But if they miss the playoffs,
I
think Latanzio rises up that ranking because Charlotte wants to be bigger than that. And you have Atlanta, who is in the process of making changes to get back to the top of the mountain. You have Nashville, who is kind of there. But Nashville's been to the playoffs consistently. Nashville has gotten to came within a shootout of winning League's Cup.
Yeah.
Orlando looks like the most dangerous non-supporter shield team right now. Miami has Messi. Charlotte's got to kick it into gear here.
Yeah. Crew and Fire at 7:39. Crew a big favorite at a minus 222, and the Fire to win are a plus 500. Do we need to go any further?
No.
Didn't think so.
Don't think about it.
Inter Miami, a minus 286 at home at DRV P&K hosting Toronto. Toronto's almost a plus 50. 7:30, NYC hosting Orlando City as a favorite at a minus 127. Your draws a plus 284, and Orlando City is a plus 3.25.
Oh, my God, yeah. Hammer it. Hammer at 3.25. I don't care. I know they're on the road. It's hard to win an MLS on the road. It's hard to win in that U8 bandbox they call a stadium that NYC Pigeons play at.
This one's at City.
Well, even better, because nobody in New York is using their baseball stadium in postseason.
True. That's absolutely true.
Congratulations, Mets. You have somehow recreated the Mo Vaughn, Jeremy Burnett's years. All that money to be on the couch in October.
Mm-hmm. NYC favored and Orlando City at a plus 3.25. Your last
Oh my God, I'm hammering Orlando City into the moon. Unless Vegas really knows something we don't, it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm taking a squeaky hammer and we're just breaking that button.
Your last 7:30, Red Bulls hosting Austin FC, talking about the hot seat, the Ghost Pepper hot seat. Josh Wolf, I think, is on it. Red Bulls are a minus 130, draws a plus 292, and Austin is a plus 321.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, see, and here's the thing, man. Just John, you're the one that pointed out to me and keeps reminding me of it correctly, I might add, that Austin's got new leadership.
New dude in charge.
And when new dude is in charge and they're struggle bussing, new dude in charge, I mean, they might have a good relationship. Like, they might have a good working relationship.
Yeah.
He might want his guy. And after last year, you expected more. And Austin has covered themselves in whatever the opposite of glory is. And it hasn't been like, Austin hit a rough patch. No, Austin got trounced by a team from Haiti that doesn't have a stadium.
True.
That doesn't have a home.
And they played in
and then it never really got better.
No. True. Absolutely true. So I think Josh Wolf's on that seat of the watery barbecue sauce that someone tried to sneak into a competition in Austin, Texas. So I think that's where they are. It is 9:30.
What's the most insulting sauce style you could take to an Austin barbecue competition?
That's a good question. Bart, do you have an answer?
Yeah, the superior sauce, Eastern Carolina barbecue, because they would think that it's poison because they don't know what to do with it because they only believe that brisket is how you do barbecue in Texas.
Okay.
They lack imagination when it comes to barbecue in Texas. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, so
I don't want to start barbecue wars at 9:30 on a Wednesday.
Why not?
He's going to save that for the flight to DC.
Yeah, right.
All right.
I don't want to land in DC and my mentions blow up from Texans yelling at me. Texas barbecue is good. That's not the conversation we're having.
Yeah, correct.
It's not St. Louis barbecue, whatever crap they try to pull out there.
Oh, I mean, it's you go.
Well, we took vinegar and stop.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, no, you go to St.
Kansas City style barbecue is trash. The sauce. That's my hot take. The rest of the barbecue is very good because they have a plethora of meats. They are not afraid to smoke anything. The sauce itself, not. This is my favorite.
This is the same argument about like Zaxby's and Cane's and Guthrie's and all that. The sauce is great. Look, if I need to have the sauce to cover up the fact that you can't fry chicken correctly, we have bigger problems.
Right.
Yes. All right. So, Bart, the question was raised. How are you actually going to see this match? What airline are you taking?
I'm actually flying myself. I'm flying Frontier. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we wish you Godspeed, obviously.
Luckily, there's no like storms or anything in the areas for either Atlanta or DC. And we have time in case things are delayed to be able to get to this. We're flying into Baltimore, so we're flying to BWI because it's the cheapest.
Yeah. Okay. So then, how are you getting from BWI to Audi?
Well, they have these things called trains, John.
Okay.
And they're these magnificent things.
We don't do that here.
Public transportation down here. We've gotten into barbecue down here and public transportation down here.
Absolutely.
We're only 3 minutes into the segment.
Damn right.
No, we're taking the what is it? MTA Mark, one of those, whatever that is. Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know if you were renting a car or doing whatever.
No, this is like I would say it's a quick in and out. We're not leaving until 9:30 tomorrow because the options were 6:30 a.m. or 9:30 p.m. on Thursday. And we thought, well, it's DC. There's things to at least do and see. So
okay. All right. So I know that we want to get into reffing down here because you had so many things to talk about. You had a list. You were writing things down. It was
I do have a list of things.
Fast and furious here. So in this week's edition of Reffing Down Here, where do you want to start on your list? Because I know that folks are going to want to know about PK, no PK.
Yeah, we'll start with that. Okay, let's just start with that.
Fair enough. Go for it.
I think it was incredibly harsh to award a PK to Miami for the handball against DeBrom because the hand that it actually hits is right here against his chest, right? Correct. He has not made himself bigger.
Right.
He definitely doesn't use that to control the ball. It just happens to be here. The unfortunate thing is it's in front of his body, not behind his body, and it says in front of his body, so it hits his hand. I think it's incredibly harsh. I think had the referee not given it, which Jair Marufo hates Atlanta United. I think this has been established. Specifically, he thinks that Brooks Lennon is the divingest, whiningest person who's ever played soccer.
Apparently so, yeah.
Who, by the way, didn't get a lot of foul calls in this game again that were deserved. But I think had it not been given on the field, it would have been really hard to say that's a clear and obvious error because his arm is right here. When I first saw it, And when I even saw it live in my seats, I thought it hit his outstretched left arm. So I was like, oh, crap,
Yeah.
But then I saw the replay and it was here, and I thought that was a really harsh penalty kick. But then I thought the one for Jean de Silva was a lot of it. It wasn't going to be a penalty kick. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, run through the Jean de Silva.
So he's
Jarrett
running into the
Maroof in the
box. Yeah. He's running into the box. I forget which defender, but he's running with them, and they collide to go for a ball. The ball wasn't really super playable. It was just kind of two players running together, and Jean de Silva happened to fall down. But there was a shout for a penalty kick there, and I didn't think it was a penalty kick. But
okay.
Yeah, I personally would not have called that penalty kick for Miami, but I understand why Marufo does outside of his hatred for Atlanta United.
All right, so let me. This may be on your list. I have not seen your list, and so that's the beauty of these conversations: is that you have a list, I have ideas, we all come together, and we have this melange of reffing down here. When you are challenged by an athlete on the pitch, how do you handle it when an athlete gets in your grill or your compadres have this kind of experience, when adults get in their grill and want to try to emphasize a point?
Well, usually it's a combination of things. And one of the things you do is you try to quickly explain what happened, or quickly say, no, it was a foul, or yes, you fouled him, or no, it's not a penalty, or whatever. Luckily, with most of the athletes that I'm refereeing, I'm taller than them, so that helps. But in the adult league games that I do referee, it is hard because they feel very convicted in their belief that this was or was not a foul, or this was or was not a decision that should have gone their way. I try to stay calm and just kind of say, no, it was this, or yes, it was this. However, there are times that I do raise my voice, like legit, because they kind of get shocked by that. And I just say, no, or I go, hey, cut it out. That kind of brings them to the reality of like, oh, I'm acting like a child and being kind of treated like a child. But when you're getting those mass confrontations, and this is something that I do kind of wish referees would utilize a little bit more. They do, but blow that whistle as loud as you possibly can, because they will take that as, it's one of those things where, like, when an animal is being attacked and they bristle up or they make a lot of noise, that can shock people as well. It at least annoys them enough where they can.
Ear splitting damage will certainly do that. Yeah.
The other thing that I do, I just pull my card out and hold it. I'll do like one of these motions with my card in my hand, and I'll say, "Who wants one?" Or I'll say, "Keep talking. I've got it out."
You'll go blackjack dealer, huh?
Yeah, because they need to be aware that you're not afraid to give it. They literally need to see it sometimes. Be like, "Oh, okay." And then after that, if they keep talking, you have to follow through. And that's really what it comes down to, is you have to follow through on not the threat, but you have to follow through on the warning. I warned you if you keep talking. I had a coach do this, and we were cool after the game, but he kept talking about a call after I had explained the call. I said, "Coach, the player did this." He kept going, and I said, "Coach, we're done. We need us to keep playing." He went again. I said, "Okay, here's your yellow card." And he kept going. I said, "Coach, I have my yellow card out. Do you want another one?" And he, at that point, he was like, "Okay." So,
as a bit of a follow-up to this, Ricky wants to know, you got to turn your dryer over again.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dryer's on. Trying to get some things done before I go today.
Ricky wants to know what kind of card thrower you are.
Well, I don't know, Nick. You've seen me referee. I don't think I throw cards too often, but I do try to throw cards when needed. I think that's the thing, is I don't like to give cards for. How do I put this? I don't love to give cards for things that happen within the play of game. Right, harsh tackles you're going to give cards for sometimes, but even then, things can be de-escalated and talked down if you need to. But I prefer to give cards for procedural or things that go outside of just playing soccer. But I don't know. I mean, I always try to encourage referees to never be afraid to give cards, understand that the card is a method of communication as well. But I mean, like I gave 3 in a game on Sunday, but I also gave 0 in the other 2 games that I refereed. So it just depends on the game too.
And the reason I asked before Nick comes in is because when this is a long answer and explanation to an incident, when a player of Sergi Busquets' import, experience, and dossier, round 2, wants to flash a card, an imaginary card at a center ref, and try to bait a decision by showing an imaginary card himself, that to me is grounds for, like, if not blackjack dealer, to sit there and go palms up with the card in the hand and sit there and go, you want one? You don't
Absolutely, you can. You should.
But that was one for me that I wanted to ask about.
I was shocked there were not more yellow cards given for those mass confrontations. I think that's what MLS calls them, right? Yeah. That we had a lot of talk or a lot of fines for. And it's like Marufo should have done something about that, both in his when they were confronting him, but also in that penalty kick situation. When the ball is scored, when a goal is scored, all that means is the ball has gone out of play, just happens between the sticks and underneath the crossbar. That's it. That's all it is. So when a ball goes out of play, it is the other team's possession. Any scoring team that then tries to take the ball away from the other team, I am very quick to give yellow cards for that kind of stuff, because that is how you get stupid things happening. And the last thing you want is grown men acting like children doing stupid things. And I thought Marufo was very slow to react to that in a incident that he should know. This is why I think he should retire. I'm sorry. This man is supposedly so experienced and so good, but he did not know to think beforehand that this was going to be a possible confrontative situation. That to me is insane, because that's something that I and other referees at my level are taught and know that, hey, especially for a corner or for a goal kick scored, because people are so close and everything, that type of situation is going to happen. And the fact that he wasn't quick to acknowledge it or recognize it, I should say, quick to respond to it, and then didn't really do anything from a disciplinary action after it, is malpractice, in my opinion.
Due to their roles in the mass confrontation, Gigi, Xande Silva, Leo Campagna, Facundo Farias have been each issued an undisclosed fine for inciting and or escalating a mass confrontation. Way to go, Major League Soccer. Nick, reffing down here, what's on your mind?
Well, I'll first start with Bart's particular style of officiating. I've watched Bart a few times. Be the center official, and I've tried to bribe him numerous times. He has rejected those advances several times.
You tried money. If you would have tried food or drink, maybe we would have had different results.
That's very true. Very true. No, Bart's a very fair official. I'm pretty attuned, especially after a few experiences when my son was playing regularly, that I would watch how the parents would interact with the officials, because especially younger officials, that will play into how they call a game, and fairly or unfairly. And Bart is he's not rattled by any of that. He doesn't allow himself to get caught in the moment with psychotic parents screaming and going nuts and threatening, to do sacrifices on the sidelines, to whatever dread god they pray to. Nor the Drano drinking coaches who are, paint thinners at halftime. But, officiating, I think, is in a weird space nowadays, because we are running out of refs. In high school football, even they've had to cancel 2 games here in DeKalb County because they did not have referees for the game.
Alternating playoff dates too, cut them in half.
Yeah. And so why is this happening? Because parents are psychopaths. That's it. I'm a freelance video professional, right? I I contract and subcontract myself out. Reffing on the weekends would be a great way for me to make money. I have zero desire to do it because parents are too psycho. They're too nuts. I've watched grown adults, 40, 50-year-old men berate young officials to the point of being in tears because their child was doing studs up tackles on people and the refs stopped the game. Didn't even issue a card. Stopped the game, talked to the player, and the parents went nuts. It's the issue is us as a fan group, as parents, as people who cannot emotionally detach ourselves from anything, and everything has to be DEFCON 1. And I'm convinced that it's because we are a generation of adults who were raised by middle management sales culture, who were told to never take no for an answer. And
the customer is always right, and you think yourself as the customer, by the way.
Correct, 100%. The customer is always right. Well, just because you show up at a game doesn't mean you're a customer. Well,
I paid to be here, Nick.
Well, take your money and go the blank home. How about that? That's what I would. I was commentating on the Oglethorpe women's game last night, which was a absolute blast. And if you have not made your way out to Brookhaven to watch Harlow Krieger,
stud
number 23, she is Division I talent playing in Division III. I'm talking like 25 yard out free kick last night, parked it damn near upper 90. The keeper could do nothing about it. She is absolutely electric. So make your way out there to cover those. But I overheard the officials talking about kind of, the coaches were very animated last night. They knew each other. But the coaches were very animated. And, one of the officials said, look, when I get in a situation where I see coaches getting animated and I give them 2 chances and then I just pull my card out and I show them the card and that's it. And my line, one of my, the assistant referees will come over and be like, he's going to give you another one if you keep going. And I just leave it at that, because if you feel like you can pop off at me like that, I'm just going to go ahead and issue the card. So that way we all know what rules we're playing by here, because I'm not letting the game get out of control. And that's where we are these days, because we have gone so far off the deep end in our inability to control our emotions. You have, what is it? And was it Crete, Bart, where the officials said that they were on strike? I want to say it was Crete, that the officials, or Macedonia or something like that, the officials said they were on strike because they were receiving death threats.
Yes.
That the families were receiving death threats. That there were threats of violence in the streets. This is because we have taken things too damn far. Bart, I don't know how you do it. I really don't, because, I have undergone many billable hours to keep myself from popping off, like the old West. And I'm not convinced that I couldn't turn back into the old me with some of these suburban knuckleheads, who got their high-waisted pants on, in their pleated khakis on a Saturday morning talking about, well, my son, they do nothing wrong.
Yeah. My son would never, my little baby would never do anything wrong.
Never.
Meanwhile, he's just put his cleats into the guy's chest,
Right. He's like doing the double drop kicks on the weekends.
Well, and I think that goes to a parenting style, Nick, and not to get too much into this because I'm not a parent myself, but like there is this idea that your child has never and will never do wrong because that's your precious little angel baby. And I mean, I haven't raised children, but I was old enough to be in a parenting situation with my younger brothers. And if you were to told me they would have done something stupid on a athletics field, I would have said, yeah, that probably sounds right. I think it does come down to that, where they to your point, Nick, they feel entitled to something to be there. And, I was joking on Twitter, not really joking, to be honest, about someone put out, said, abolish parents at youth games, in my opinions. And I was like, yes, do that. And then some, person was like, well, that's not fair to the good parents. And my response is, so why are the good parents allowing the bad parents to be so disruptive to games? And I gave the example that I gave that we talked about a couple weeks here, where a player got in a situation where he claims a parent, someone from the sidelines, said something to him that caused him to give a reaction that I had to discipline. None of the parents on that sideline wanted to rat out the parent that said this. Y'all don't know these people. They're not your friends. There's no y'all just play on a soccer team together. If they're going to be that bad to where they're cursing at a youth player on the field, why isn't your parenting instinct to protect players, period?
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to protect children, period. I'm sure these are the same people who talk about parental rights and protecting children, in other arenas of life, yet they don't want to do it on the field when a parent is clearly doing something unsavory and aggressive toward a youth player. So, I mean, I always like to say parents are the least important thing when we go to play soccer. Sorry, they are. The fans, unfortunately, and I know this is going to be controversial, fans are the least important thing when it comes to the game inside those lines. We don't need them, and if we have to play without them, then we will. But anyway, I have other thoughts on other things.
No, and here's the thing. I am a parent. I have 2 kids, and I will tell you, I have teaching Jack not to pop off, because Jack has inherited the best of us and the worst of us, and he has a mouth that he got straight from his old man,
Mm-hmm.
and has no problems popping off. And it was one of the hardest things to teach him.
Yeah.
Don't talk to the ref. Don't do it. Don't, unless it's sir or ma'am coming out of your mouth, and with a calm, rational explanation, don't say anything else. And if an official is not calling things, and I've taught him this, and I've had to do this because otherwise I don't know, other than pulling him off the field, I don't know what else really to do.
Right.
If another player is going studs up and taking other kids out, I've taught him, Jack, if you feel contact, you hit the ground like you've been shot, and make it dramatic. And just go. I mean, the minute somebody comes near you, just watch the game, scan. If somebody is taking other kids out, the minute that kid comes near you, hit the ground like you've been shot. Yeah. And I had to teach my kid how to dive at 7, 8 years old, because that's in my way. That's how I protect them. Okay, so because the official, these are not. I can't ask a 13-year-old or 14-year-old reffing 7 and 8-year-olds to be a professional, right? The kid's getting paid. The kid should be getting paid to do that. Right. I can't ask even Bart, right? As good as Bart is, is Bart, are you reffing an MLS game or a national team game tomorrow?
No,
okay. And so, we have to understand that there is gray area between the black and white. And we can't put everything on these officials to get every call right, every time, nonstop, in a game that is getting faster and faster and faster, and surrounded by a larger crowd of idiots. And so, I make it easy for the ref, Jack. Near you, throw yourself to the ground. Now we have and the parents will howl and scream, he took a dive. Your mother in right, he took a dive. Deal with it.
Yeah. And to your point, Nick, diving is a great way to tell the referee, yeah, I was fouled and I want that foul.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that we talk about, like Neymar and other players like that. Neymar will get kicked multiple times and still stay up.
Uh-huh.
But they only look at the one time that he dives. And sure, he dives. But to your point, if you get kicked and you're in possession,
mm-hmm.
you want that free kick,
Yeah. What else is on your list before you go?
All right. So, hold on. I got to pull it up. Okay. First off, shout out to soccer in West Virginia. WVU and Marshall ranked numbers 2 and 1 in the college soccer rankings. WVU won last night.
Wow.
So they square off in conference play on October 18th. So that'll be fun. Regarding Spain and the Spanish women's national team, just because a woman is in charge of the women's program doesn't mean things are going to be great for women. The problem we have right now in Spain is that there's just toxicity from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate that the women's national team are put in this position where they are being threatened to play. Obviously, the problem with the women's game is they don't have the money to fight back legally or take the hit legally. We saw this with Canada last year where they were trying to strike, but they just don't have the money to not play a game because wage inequality is still going on there. It sucks. Hopefully we can get past this we can get through this and come out of it with a better understanding of what women actually want from their federations and not what the federations are giving them currently. So I wanted to talk about Boston NWSL plan for a couple seconds. So,
right.
First off, very excited that the Boston Breakers / Boston is getting a team again, right? I think that it's a market that probably needs one. It's a geographic location that needs one. I think that this is a good move for the league. What my concern is, I don't think the stadium plan is very good. I think the idea of renovating of White Stadium is fine in theory. The problem is all the plans they have really doesn't allow them to have much control over the stadium itself. They're only technically leasing one grandstand and an area of land just south of the stadium for their events. So the rest of the stadium is going to be, they're giving money to the city and public school system to renovate it. That's going to be concerning because you're not having control of the renovation of the entire stadium, right? So you may not get a cohesive look. You're still going to have that track there, which, I'm sure Nick can attest to. Tracks in Italy, for some reason, every Italian city has to have a track in it. I don't know the last time an Italian's won anything at track and field, but they got to have them.
Sir, we were track superstars in the last Olympics, sir. Gold medals abound for the Italian track. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I only paid attention to the Americans. My bad. But that track is I know they want to keep it for the purposes of Boston Public Schools. I get that. I'm concerned about this. You're already planning for temporary bathrooms. That is your plan. That's not the temporary plan. That is the plan. It's just tough to look at this plan and go, that's amazing when you have Kansas City building a whole stadium in a great location, a quality class stadium. And then I don't even think the renovation, like if you were to just have bought the White Stadium property and fixed it up and even said, hey, we'll lease it back to Boston Public Schools to, for their football games or whatnot, would have been fine. But this compared to what you're seeing in Kansas City, what you've seen in Louisville, what that it pales in comparison. The location is fine. Sure. It's a little far from public transportation, but it's fine. I'm glad they're keeping the general look and feel of the stadium with the kind of curvature of the grandstands. That's cool. But I'm very concerned about the stadium plan. And it doesn't feel like it'll be fit for a true professional team. And I think we want to try to move away from that. You look at the teams that have come into the league recently. I mentioned Kansas City. Utah will be playing, obviously, at what is it now?
Rio Tinto.
America First Stadium, the Riot. You have San Diego playing at Snapdragon. You have LAFC, Angel City playing at LAFC Bank of California. And even with Bay City, you have them playing at the San Jose Stadium. So this seems like a little bit of a step backwards, to be just quite honest. But I'm excited that they're investing in the public land and the Boston public school system. That's good and a worthwhile venture. I'm just not sure it's going to be great for the actual professional soccer team.
And that leads to Herndon Stadium before you go.
Yeah, so that was a cool little report yesterday, John. Also, they call it Northwest Atlanta. I was like, that's neither north That's not northwest of Atlanta, and it's certainly not northwest in Atlanta. That's like middle west. That's literally West End. We call that Vine City, West End area. The University Center is west at best.
Yep.
That's cool. I've obviously shared my thoughts on what I would have loved to have renovated Herndon for Atlanta United use. But if that becomes a stadium site, because John, I think when you look at the USSF desires, you're going to have a stadium field or 2 or 3, depending on, I think you'll have multiple kind of sizes. I mean, Atlanta United has a stadium at their training ground, so you'll have 1 or 2 of those. But you'll want a showcase stadium field at this facility for the purposes of these tournaments you're going to hold. You want good sight lines for the television. You want good spectators. You want, proper facilities so the players get to have all these things. I don't know if Herndon is the best location for that type of facility when you are looking at mainly youth national teams. But I love it if you're going to try to use this as a showcase stadium for U.S. soccer. I just don't think you can get the size stadium you need on that footprint.
All right. So you get to now get ready to take things out of the dryer or see if they are in fact dry. And then hop on a plane and head up to Atlanta to take.
Yeah, we're packing 1 clear plastic drawstring bag of stuff and heading up to DC. So I will maybe see you there. I don't know. We're in sections 112 and 113, John. So I think you might be able to look at actually, I don't know if you can look out the press box. I've heard horror stories of Audi.
Oh, yeah, it is. Jason and Mike will have the horror stories of Audi Field tonight, and I'll be seeing if you guys pop up.
We'll be off to the left. So look for us on television. Hopefully we get to bring home the belt tonight.
There you go. That's Bart Keeler tagging out. We're going to do a hot tag. He's going to drink from his Atlanta United mug, and that means we bring in Dylan Butler because it's Dylan Butler's time to bring in his mug where he is continuing to be grateful on a Wednesday morning. Good morning, Dylan.
I'm always grateful to be with you, John.
Oh, there you go. Hit the promo. It is the busy end of the business end of the schedule where you have your rounds of chaos. You had 70,000 folks who started out upset, and then Atlanta put a number on Inter Miami and proved that they are in fact mortal without Lionel Messi. But this is one of the things that I think that folks kind of skip and they lose in the ideas here. Just because they don't have Messi in their lineup, they ain't chopped liver. I mean, Leo Campana has proven to be worthy of the contract extension. Sergi Busquets, still a magician. They didn't have Jordi Alba either. Yes, you saw some flaws, especially on the back line, but Inter Miami ain't chopped liver, even though Messi's not in the lineup. They're still pretty decent, but they don't just suck.
No, that's gonna be on their T-shirt.
Ain't chopped liver. They just don't suck,
Yeah. Chopped liver in the front. And
yes, chopped liver in the front. We don't suck on the back.
Yeah. No, for sure. Listen, great win for Atlanta, and I think that they've proven, it's such an overhaul in the summer. Like, you're always, I think, nervous about how quickly so many new parts. And Miami's in the same way, right? They made a huge shuffle as well, so it's a similar situation for them. Is like you don't know how quickly guys can get acclimated and be on the same page and work as a finely tuned machine. Now, Miami had the extra edge of having the greatest player on the planet and his buddies he's played with for such a long time, right? At Barcelona. So that helps. But I think Atlanta is such a interesting story, I think, going towards a postseason. Like, if obviously, tied for first, I think, in goals against still, right? But I mean, listen, if you put up 5 spots and 4 spots, and if you're scoring the goals, like, I'm all for, a 5-4 playoff game, man. Bring it. Like, that'll be a ton of fun. By the way, this was pretty cool. I was heading home from my high school football broadcast on Saturday.
Varsity Media on YouTube, by the way.
Thank you. It was a 1:30 kick by 3-hour game, 20 minutes or so of, breaking down stuff and heading to the cars and saying goodbye. And got to listen to probably the first 20 or so minutes of the radio call of Atlanta, Miami.
Mike and Jason.
Good to hear my friends. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always solid. Nickel-Leafy for Dylan Butler. Dylan, what's on your mind, Nick?
Rebranding. That's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about some rebranding up in the PNW.
I thought you were going to rip me on my Newcastle, just like holding on for dear life yesterday, Nick. But
what am I going to? Here's the thing.
Doing nothing.
I can't rip Newcastle. I can't rip them because they did exactly what they needed to do, and Milan had chance after chance after chance after chance, and we sank nothing. So it was almost like if we remember the first movie, The Predator, like where all like Arnold Schwarzenegger and like all the soldiers are in line and they're unloading every gun on Earth into the jungle at the same time. And the guy comes out, Ponch comes out, and he's like, "We hit nothing." That's exactly what yesterday felt like.
Yeah, you had the one Balotelli-esque kind of miss in front of goal, which was, after heart palpitations was humorous for me. But
oh God, yeah, Raphael. I was like, buddy, just put the laces behind it, please, God. But look with. As far as what's going on right now up with Seattle, a recognizable logo, recognizable scheme going on up there. Why the shift now? What does it seem like that makes any sense to you, or does it seem like something that's branding for the sake of branding?
It might be that, to be honest, because I think it works for them, right? And I think we saw the same with the Revs, like, the Revs old logo, like as sort of, kind of campy and whatever, like it worked for them. Like it was cool. And I don't know what rebrand logo we're up to in Montreal, but I would just wish they would stick to one. But yeah, listen, it's dare I say, an iconic logo, right? In MLS. Why mess with it? I don't get it. I mean, and it's such a passionate fan base. Unless they blow it out of the water, man, I don't think that's going to go down well.
I feel like the same thing with and we all know how much I hate Juventus, right? I mean, I don't think that's any secret. But Juventus's old school oval logo was spectacular. Like to me, that was like, when you saw it, it said Italy, it said Serie A, it just was class. And then they changed it to this weird J, sans serif font type face, like an AI generated J, and it just has nothing. It's completely soulless, which sort of matches the club, so it makes sense. But yeah, but I do agree that unless they knock it out of the park, even if it's just the badge, right? And Bart says, I've heard it's just an update to the logo and crest, but not a change to the colors or name. That's great.
Well, yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think that we are so desperate for everything new and fresh here in America that we need to hang on to some of the relics. We need to hang on to some of the classic design. And I feel like we're losing that a bit if we start pushing, for new logos within this young league.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, you look at throughout sports in America and North America. What are the most iconic brands? In football, it's the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like they are staying as they are. It's the New York Yankees. They're not changing the interlocking NY, right? The Montreal Canadiens, they are sticking with what they are. Like, so again, I kind of wish, some marketing people who I think generally are maybe younger skewing, would kind of like pump the brakes on some of these changes.
Oh no, we can't have that. It's got to be shiny, and you've got to update it. It's got to be edgy with the finger pistols and literally, it's like we got to be edgy. That's what
Listen,
it's.
sometimes out in the backyard, a grilled burger is all you need, right? You don't need all the extra fancy accoutrements with it.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, on Parks and Rec, right? On Parks and Rec, they had an episode with a burger cook-off.
Yeah.
And Rob Lowe's character comes out. He's like, "This is a A2 Wagyu beef with with shallot and da da da." And then the other dude comes out. He's like, "It's beef. It's just beef." And it's just like, but it's hard because we hear so often it's like, oh, we love going to these other places where they have all this old history and all this old culture, and then it's like, hey, now you're like, we can't have that here. We're gonna change it. It's like, I don't know. I'm getting too old, guys. I'm getting too old. I can feel it setting in now. But Dylan, a question I have for you from MLS side is closing out the season. From the West Coast perspective, who are some of the teams that you think could be maybe dark horse candidates to maybe shock the world in a way?
I don't know if anyone's doing more of a shocking of the world right now than the Timbers are, right? I mean, this was a team that, when they let go of Giovanni Savarese, looked dead. Like that was it, right? Like they were done. Maybe it's the new coach bump. Who knows? Maybe Evander and he didn't get along. I don't know. I'm just speculating here, but suddenly Evander is doing what they thought he could do as a record signing for that club. And, again, maybe a new coach bump and a little bit of a tweak in tactics. And suddenly the Timbers are pushing up into a playoff spot. And, a lot of other teams around them that you would think would be fighting and pushing for spots aren't, which is helping them as well make their push. But I think a push in, they are the dark horse. But I think a dark horse, perhaps in the postseason, could be their other Cascadia foes, the Whitecaps, right? Like real like Ryan Gauld, man. Like I don't know if it's just because they're out there in the super Pacific Northwest and no one talks about them, and but he's low key, an MVP candidate. You're not going to say favorite, right? But he should be in that mix. And Brian White as well, right? Like blue collar Jersey dude who just scores ugly goals, but he scores them, right? And they team up really well. So I think they might be that team that could do some damage as well. I mean, look what they're doing on the road, right? Like they've got a million different things happening at BC Place right now, and they're getting all these points away from home, which is super impressive as well.
Well, and now all you need to do is mention Vancouver, and you get Nick to talk about an Italian head coach.
I love that guy, man. I really do. Sartini's just, spectacular. The way he has sort of, he's very seductive with the media. He drops enough modern pop culture references while still aging himself, while still appearing approachable. And his passion on the sidelines, it really, I think you're right, Dylan, in that, because you are in the extreme Pacific Northwest, that you're not getting a ton of mainstream media coverage, right? It's only when something really crazy happens that you're popping up on any of the conversation points. But Vancouver with Sartini, it just seems like a match made in heaven. And I love what he's doing up there. And I'm always proud when one of my Italian brothers is handling business and doing well. We need more Italians here. Even though he's an Inter guy, I have to look at him through Azzurri lens. Materazzi, I know he was getting his coaching badges. I would like to see Marco Materazzi here in America. I want to see what he could do with a team. I think there's an opportunity there. Get some of my Italian brothers over here.
And I love his title for Gold as well. Like, he calls him the working class DP. Like, I think it's perfect for that guy, right? Because he's not the flash. He's not, he's the guy willing to do the dirty work as well, play multiple positions. I was all for his signing as soon as I saw him come in and watched some of his clips. And again, he's not talked about enough. I think he fits Vancouver in that sense. They're not talked about enough, and they love that. don't talk about them. They want to be that sort of team lurking in the shadows. And I think certainly Sartini, he does it to the media, and I'd imagine it's a similar message behind closed doors. Like, no one kind of believes in us. This group is tight. We're together, and we're going to shock the world.
Can we talk about how stupid the West is right now?
It's pretty crazy.
I mean, if you think about it, that 2 through 7, 6 teams separated by that many points. And for those who are just listening, 3 points. 3 points separate 2 through 7. And then you get that group that's trying to get into the playoffs. 5 teams separated by 4 points. What in the ever-loving ish is going on in the Western Conference?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think I'm more excited about the East in the playoffs, because I think that's going to be incredible.
It'll be a rock fight.
But yeah, I think the fight into the playoffs in the West is maybe more, more intriguing, right? Because nobody is kind of taking hold of it, right? Like, even on the weekend, we saw like Sporting get up over the line. You're like, wow, it's amazing. 10 unbeaten or 10 winless to start the season. Everyone's calling for Vermees's head, and suddenly they're above the line. And then that only lasted for 24 hours because now Portland jumps them, right? Minnesota, in their amazing home venue of Allianz Field with the great beer garden, they cannot win home games. They only seem to win road games. It's Dallas and Austin are like sleepwalking. LA is somehow around, even with like 12 guys out for the season. Yeah, no, it's nuts. The only team not involved are the Rapids, of course, but everyone else is very much still alive. And Salt Lake too, like, they had such a bump during the year, and now they're trending the other way. With the Ruiz injury, that they just can't. They don't have that guy to replace him, right? So, I think Houston certainly trending up, Vancouver trending up, Portland and SKC kind of trending up. So, like, who drops below that line, right? Like, I think if Minnesota drops out of the postseason altogether, yes, I know they just extended Adrian Heath's contract, but not a good look for the Loons then.
Nick, go for it.
Yeah, I agree with the idea around Minnesota is that if you have a fall off now, I don't see how you keep inching and then tell your fan base that you're serious about making any sort of progress. That's just, I don't know. It seems like they're a franchise that's sort of stagnated, and sputtered out the gate from the time of inception, and then just kind of had a few moments here and there where they kind of peaked and then just sort of flatlined. The main question I have right now is around Colorado and the angst that's been going on with that fan base and the walkout where allegedly the stadium staff turned off the public-facing clock. It seems like it's a team at war with its own fan base. What can be done, in your opinion, if anything, to salvage the relationship between the fans and the organization?
Yeah, that is. We started this conversation about rebrands, right? if there is a club that needs a rebrand, man, it is the Colorado Rapids. Like, I don't know, bring back Rapid, man. Maybe that's the answer. Like, we John and I tried to talk about this last week, but there is no easy fix. There was no easy answer. Like, I think it's, kind of, they want to talk about the Rapid way, but what is that? Like,
failure.
Yeah, exactly. You can't kind of moneyball your way if you don't have the academy bringing, cultivating your first team players. And if you're not Philly, who find these like third division German league players who work great for MLS and your system, right? They don't seem to play any distinct style, so they don't have a great academy, it seems, at least from this 30,000 foot view that we have here. They don't seem to have a playing style. They don't really do too well with their international signings, with the exception of Jack Price, who's been injured all year, and he's been injury prone. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, again, I think they need some sort of just a complete overhaul, like one of those those shows on what is it, like HGTV or whatever, just like tear down that house and like rebuild it up. And I don't know. There is no easy answer there, unfortunately.
A complete reno is what they're looking
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, goodness gracious. Nick, go for it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's always tough to see a team fight its own fan base, like with this level, where it's like, okay, we're walking out. Okay, cool. We're going to shut off the clock so you can't figure out when. Ha ha ha. I don't know. It looks like a lot of mustache twirling, and that's just
Snidely whiplash going on with Stan Kroenke.
It is. It's just absurd to me. I have to say, because I think, as far as all of us sports talking heads, we always love talking about how we're right and we called stuff over the horizon and we just knew what we were talking about. Very rarely do we hear I was wrong. I would like to take this opportunity, because I believe in a couple of conversations we've had, there are three things that I was dead wrong about. One, Portland, right? Agreed. Portland, I said, was dead in the water. They're done for. They needed a complete overhaul, and here they are, like you talked about. Dark horse, 9th spot. They're competing. I thought Houston Dynamo made a horrific decision in bringing Captain Khaki Ben Olsen in, and he seems to have been just the ticket with what they needed, right? And then St. Louis, I said St. Louis would be falling back to the middle of the pack by the All-Star break with the style that they play.
To be fair, John was with you on that one. He'll take the L there as well.
There we go. And I
don't know what you're talking about, sir.
And those are three areas where I looked at the Western Conference, I made calls, and it was just no, absolutely dead ass wrong. St. Louis, I mean, from what we're seeing, is there any reason to doubt them going into the playoffs?
At your peril, I guess. I mean, the only, I guess, question is, like, we don't have a data point of them in the postseason, right? Like, it's all brand new. But that's also what makes them, I think, so dangerous, right? Like, they've answered the bell. I mean, except I guess Leagues Cup, they didn't perform too well, but John had questioned the way that they played in the heat in St. Louis and playing in August, and they've done that. They've had injuries to designated players and key guys, and they've weathered that storm as well. And one thing that was true when Red Bull was at its Red Bull best, it was very much a collective. And yes, you had special players. You had Bradley Wright Phillips. You had You had Sasha as your playmaker in the midfield. You had Dax just doing, the dirty work in the midfield as well. But it was a collective. Like it was the team mentality, and I think we're seeing that from St. Louis, right? Like you need a quality goalkeeper. And to be honest, when we're talking about L's, I'll take one as well, because I was like, Roman Berkey, like this is a designated player goalkeeper. Like you don't use that status and spend that money on a goalkeeper for an expansion team. Like it didn't make sense there. And, he's proven to be one of the best in the league, right? If not the best in the league. So it is puzzling. It's mesmerizing. It shouldn't happen, but that's the beauty, I think, of Major League Soccer, right?
Well, all right. So for those that are confused, what is the new playoff format? Is it 4 points or 2 wins in the best of 3?
Yeah, I was worried that you would ask that. I believe that is the case. Yes.
Okay. So then if you are in a situation against a team like a St. Louis, who's basically Red Bull's Midwest, with a bit of a twist, if you basically sit there and go, all right, well, tell you what, for 2 matches, I'm just going to kick the ball long. Ball's got cooties. You got to deal with it. I mean, I think that's the next step in this. How do they adjust, knowing that they're going to have to play, in theory, the same match 3 times in a row against the same opponent in a playoff format, and basically just sit there and get found out and have to figure out different ways to win? Or do they just stick to their guns and sit there and hope that, by hoofing it, they might have to learn how to possess the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where that famous Eastern Conference final series with or 2-leg series with Atlanta and Red Bull, that's the fatal flaw there, right? Like where Tata decided to do just that, right? Not play out of the back as his team was doing at the time, and just send long balls and make the point of confrontation way back. Have the second ball in the midfield instead of, or deeper in the midfield than it would have been. And Chris Armas had a plan for that and possessing the ball, and it didn't. I don't know if there was enough practice for the players to have been doing that, or they just didn't answer the bell on the day. But obviously the deficit in the first leg at the Benz proved to be the difference in the series. So I think I'm sure that's part of what's happening at training now in St. Louis, right? With Bradley Carnello, or certainly in the manager's office among the coaches, just figuring out, all right, what's our plan B? What's our plan C? How much do we want to hold on to the ball? Do we just send it back to them and just play this like long ball tennis? I think it's definitely intriguing.
Nick, for Dylan before he goes.
Look, I think Dylan brings up a good point with, the playing against one of these Red Bull-esque teams. It's sort of like and this is for, some of the newer soccer fans, this is sort of like playing against the triple option offense, right? Like it's something you don't see every day. So it's hard to prepare for. You can't really do like 1 week going against a possession-based team, and the next week having to learn how to do a knife fight in a phone booth like you have to do against these the hyper pressing teams. But if you play them in a series, I think it's a hell of a lot easier to prepare for them. And I think that's where we're going to sort of have to see, what other cards do they have in their deck that they can pull outside of, okay, we press. Okay, yeah, but they're catching on to what we're doing. What do? We press more. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Ralph Rangnick. But what are we doing? No. We press more. Excellent. Thank you for your input. I think this new playoff is just, it's interesting. It's odd, but I love this messy ass league and its crazy rules and everything that they do to try to keep things new and fresh. it's just my 2 cents on it. I know a lot of
Was
people
that
don't
Messi
like
with
it.
an I or a Y?
Oh, that's a Y. That's a Y. Completely just the absolute mess. But no. Good. I would be. It's going to be interesting to see the commentary if Miami somehow backdoors their way into a playoff spot by some weird, fluke thing. They need a lot of help, but look, man, this new playoff format, anything can happen, and I think that's what I love seeing.
Dylan, what's going on with you and Varsity Media, OSDB, MLSsoccer.com? What's going on?
Yeah, got a big game, big high school football broadcast Friday night. St. Anthony's against Iona Prep, rematch of last year's championship game. So that'll be Friday, 7 o'clock. Varsity Media YouTube channel for OSDB Sports. I'm going to have a cool feature on Chris Wingert, former Real Salt Lake NYCFC defender turned agent now, and just about his second career or his post-playing career, and how that's kind of panned out for him, and the differences from the everyday training and all that kind of stuff to now being an advocate for players, especially young players. So
looking forward to it as always, my friend. Glad that you get to spend time with your daughter, drop her off, race back in time to be with us at 10 o'clock on Wednesday mornings. Thanks as always, my friend, for hanging out. We'll catch up next week.
All right, buddies. See ya.
There's Dylan. And there goes Dylan with his mug. He is always perpetually, continually grateful, even if that thing reminds me of a New York Yankees coffee mug.
Always. Nothing wrong with that.
Always does. All right, so here's the playoff format. I linked to it. Wild card's the 8-9. We're going past that. Every round one game will have a winner. No ties, no aggregate. The match is hosted home, away, home. If the match is tied at the end of regulation, no extra time will be played. Teams go to kicks from the spot to determine the winner. First team to win 2 matches will advance. 4 teams from each conference will advance to the conference semis. There is no reseeding. 1 versus 8, 9, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. It is not like Next Pro where you get to choose your opponent. Conference semifinals, single game elimination hosted by the higher seed. If the score of a conference semifinals tied at the end of regs, 2 15-minute extra time periods. Score is still tied after 2 extra time periods. They go to kicks to the spot. They do not reseed for the semis. 1-8-9 takes on 4-5. 2-7 plays 3-6. Conference final, single elimination. If the score is tied at the end of regulation, 2 15s. Till tied after 2 15s. Kicks from the spot. Winner of each conference final advances to MLS Cup presented by Audi. Single match hosted by the higher seed. Once again, scores tied at the end of regulation, 2 15s. It's still tied. They go to kicks from the spot to determine the winner. So there you go. So thank you, Ricky, for fixing my stupidity. And that is it. They don't reseed. Keep an eye on that. No reseeding. So we'll see. All right. So this is where we pick up where we were in the Midweek Whiparound. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. And this is where Nick picks up the conversation. We got rid of all the 7:30s. So we'll do 7:30 rapid fire with Nick. We won't do juice boxes because we've already talked about them. But I will say that the Montreal-Cincinnati juice boxes have slid to Cincinnati being a favorite since hour number 1. It was dead even initially. And the first time I've seen like plus 161s on both sides in a composite to get even numbers. That's the first time I swear I've seen that. So, Nick, Montreal hosting Cincinnati. What do you think?
I'm going to take Cincinnati on that one. I don't like number shifts. I really don't, especially late number shifts. When did the composite change?
Composite changed during the show. It was plus 161 on both sides when the show started, and we talked about the match in hour number 1. It has shifted to a 156, 166. So basically, Cincinnati has become more of a favorite by 5. Montreal has become more of an underdog by 5. Literally during.
Vegas knows something. And for anybody who says they like Vegas is going to know something about Major League Soccer, Look, Vegas knows stuff on like team wiffle ball, right? I mean, if you can gamble on it, they have experts who are picking it apart. Late shifts in a composite like that tells you that they've caught wind of something, whether it's an ankle injury, a strain of a muscle, or somebody observing some fatigue here or there. They have found something. And if you are a degenerate gambler, not calling anyone out, but if you gamble for entertainment purposes only, then I would be very cautious of that number. If that's a game I would stay away from. Put any money. I would not put any money on any game that shifts this late. If you are looking to put your money somewhere.
Charlotte, prohibitive favorite against Philadelphia. Both are on the plus side, but Charlotte's at a plus 138 favorite at home.
I take Philly. No, I don't trust Charlotte.
Crew a minus 222 at home. The Chicago Fire are a plus 500. Don't touch it.
Nope. Stay away from it.
Inter Miami a minus 286 at home. Toronto FC is basically a plus 650 on the road. Don't touch it.
Yeah, Messi is on track to play in that game. I would not. I mean, if Messi, Alba, and Busquets are all playing, then it's death taxes and like a 4-goal game. So stay away from it. And Toronto's a hot mess anyway. I mean, they are just a nightmare team right now.
Yep. NYC and Orlando City. NYC favored at Citi Field against Orlando City. Jarrett said he would hammer Orlando City at a plus 3.25.
I'm not betting against City on the postage stamp.
But it's at Citi Field. It's not even at Yankee Stadium.
Ooh. Are the field dimensions the same?
No, they're a little bigger, allegedly.
No, I'm still taking New York.
Red Bulls hosting Austin FC. Red Bulls are a minus 130. Austin's basically a plus 320. Josh Wolf should be on the white hot nuclear ghost pepper hot seat.
Yeah, Wolf came out guns blazing and then didn't keep the powder dry. Now, yeah, he is on the SDH patented supernova hot seat. So I'm not taking Austin. Sorry.
We're saving DC United, Atlanta United for the last game. 8:30, Houston Dynamo, Vancouver Whitecaps. Vancouver on the road against Captain Khaki is a plus 286. Ben Olsen and Houston are a minus 114 in the composite.
That's a long trip, baby, from Vancouver to Houston. So give me Captain Khaki and the home team.
Sporting, minus 109 hosting Nashville SC. Sporting is a minus 109. Your draw's a plus 265. Nashville on the road's a plus 286.
Give me Nashville and the Fighting Mukhtars.
8:39, All Caps SC hosting LAFC in St. Louis. LAFC is a slight road favorite at a plus 146. St. Louis is a plus 165. Your draw is a plus 272. Take the over. That is my play in this one.
Midweek game, schedule compression, This I feel like if I pick my gut is telling me to pick St. Louis. I'll put it that way, because it's realistically I would not pick St. Louis because schedule compression does not do well for teams that rely on athleticism to win. But my gut just says don't throw good money after bad. I already made one mistake and not thinking that St. Louis could continue doing this. So I'm going to reverse course and say St. Louis is going to win it.
Rapids and Sounders with the Rabid Prairie Dogs in Commerce City. Rapids are a slight home favorite at a plus 161. Seattle is a plus 166. Your draw is a plus 239.
Sounders.
RSL at the Riot hosting FC Dallas at 9:39. They're on the minus side at a minus 120. Your draw is a plus 277. Dallas on the road a plus 313.
Give me those numbers again.
RSL is a minus 120.
Mm-hmm.
Draw is a plus 277.
Okay.
FC Dallas plus 313.
Give me Dallas.
10:30. LAG, who now has their 5th absence of the year to injury. Jalen Neal out for the season. Plus 108. Draws a plus 294. Minnesota United a plus 213.
This is going to be the most painful draw. It's going to be borderline unwatchable. I really think Heath is I think fighting for his job, and the Galaxy are due for a makeover no matter what. But this game just feels like a mess to me, and I don't even want to go near it, but I'll take the draw.
Okay. 10:30. Timbers hosting San Jose. Timbers are minus 116. Your zombie Timbers minus 116. Draw and San Jose both in and around plus 287.
This is going to be our drunk game of the evening, I think. I think this is the game where it's you're looking at like a 4-3 final, and I don't know which side. This is really going to be in my opinion, this is going to be a pick'em. But I'm going zombie Portland, man. The movie monsters always come back from the dead. They always cause problems, even when you think they're not going to. I have watched plenty of Friday the 13th movies, plenty of the Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, any of it. Just take the dead. Portland.
Over under at plus 3.5 is a plus 163. Plus 4.5 is a plus 375.
Hold on. Give me that again.
You're over under. 3.5.
I would take the over.
Plus 163.
Okay.
4.5 is a plus 375.
Give me 4.5.
Okay. Ambitious at 4.5. Not really a surprise. All right. Last game on the board. Atlanta and DC. DC favored at home a plus 125. Plus 293 in your draw. Atlanta United a plus 181 coming off of what happened on the weekend and turning around and going to DC. Yes, Yorgos Makamakis is on yellow card accumulation watch. He's one away from having to sit. What say you?
Oh, man. I feel a draw. I feel a draw on this one. I think that if Yorgos starts looking like he's going to be fired up, then he may get an early pull. Biare may be coming in to back him up. I don't know how that's going to go. It's an unverified quantity, so I'm going to say that it's going to be an Atlanta draw. That's my personal belief on that. Atlanta should win. They have the guns to win. That's not my, I think there's a lot of stuff that goes in Atlanta's favor in this game. But there's just something in my guts that's telling me it's going to be a draw.
Jordan lets us know Ricky lets us know there's a long injury list, including Tyler Miller. Alex Bono will be between the sticks. My guess is that means that Hugo Farreau gets the call up from Loudon to be your backup keeper. Men in the middle, here's your crew. Lucas Zapala is your ref. Your AR, Corey Richardson, Adam Minkowski, J.C. Griggs is your fourth. Alan Chapman is your VAR. Corey is your AVAR.
I know. Yeah, give me the draw. Stupid officiating means a lot in this league, and yeah, I just see this going off the rails. Give me the draw.
Okay, checking Lucas Zapala's stats. 20 matches, 481 fouls awarded, and 104 yellow cards in 20 matches. So you're looking at 5.2. You're looking at 5.2 yellows a match, 481 fouls called so far in his 20 matches in the middle. He has given 3 reds in his matches so far this season. So 5.2 when it comes to yellows puts him number 2 in yellows given per match in Major League Soccer this season, behind your friend and mine, Joe Dickerson.
See, look, man, I'm telling you.
So there you go.
Look, Pro. I defend officials, especially in the youth game, but Pro is the most hodgepodge mishmash of random calls that make no sense, with continuity that is non-existent. The DC movie universe, it has more continuity than Pro does, and that should tell you something. It's a nightmare going from one pro referee to the next, and that when I talk about things going off the rails, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, Gigi. If I even have an inkling that Gigi's fired up this evening, no.
Okay. Let it happen and make sure that and you let him sit for the Montreal match and you test what's going on up top. So I have yet to see a full list of who is out for DC, but we'll keep an eye on all of that. Mike Conti letting us know, working to confirm this, but it looks like, and this is from his 280 character app, looks like there's a mathematical formula for Atlanta United to clinch a playoff berth tonight, pending a combination of numerous results. Let's go over the standings in the East. And here's what you're staring at in the Eastern Conference. Cincinnati, they've clinched a spot. They clinched it a while ago. They're at 58 points, 8 points clear of Orlando, same number of matches played at 28. New England is third. With all of the chaos going on around them, New England is third in the Eastern Conference. Tab Ramos has been added to their staff, by the way, as an assistant. New England's at 48. Philadelphia's at 47. Columbus is at 45. Atlanta's at 45. Columbus has one more win. That's your first tiebreaker. So basically, 2 through 6 in the Eastern Conference separated by 5 points. 3 through 6 separated by 3 points. 4 teams, 3 points. 3 through 6 right now. Then your gap is there. Nashville with matches in hand, depending on who you're talking to them in comparison with. Nashville's at 40 points. They're kind of by themselves right now at the 7. Montreal at 36, DC at 35, Chicago 33, Charlotte 32, NYC at 31, Red Bulls at 30, Miami at 28. So to get into the playoffs right now, 7 points separating 9 through 14. And that's Miami bringing up the caboose at the moment. Miami has 7 matches to go, 7 points out of a playoff spot. So that is where things are in the East. We talked about how stupid things are in the Western Conference. St. Louis, 6 points clear. LAFC, Seattle, Vancouver, Houston, Salt Lake, San Jose. You have to go to goal difference to separate the 3 teams at 40 points. Houston and Salt Lake have the same number of wins. So you've got to go to goal difference. Houston is 7 higher than RSL. San Jose's at 40 points, but they have 10 wins. 2 through 7 in the West, separated by 3 points. 6 teams, 3 points right now in the Western Conference. Then the craziness we talked about. Minnesota, Portland in. Kansas City, Dallas have to go to the bitchingest of bitchingest tiebreakers, because Kansas City and Dallas, same number of wins, same number of points, same number of goal difference. Goals scored, Kansas City has 9 more than Dallas right now. Same number of points. Dallas has 2 matches in hand. Same number of wins. Goal difference is the same. Kansas City has scored 9 more goals. That is where you are right now at Kansas City and Dallas. Austin at 33, LA at 30, and the Rabid Prairie Dogs and Rapid Man are at 22 points. They are 14th in the West. So that is that's what you're staring at. What do you think, Nick, is the lineup going to look like in your mind tonight? Is this rolling it with the physios, trying to get a result on the road and staring at numbers and who can give me what? Is it flipped from what we saw Those who were subs, do they get the start tonight? Like Saba and Tyler Wolf, do they start tonight? And flip your lineup like you had on the weekend? What does your gut tell you with this lineup heading into this game?
I think Saba and Wolf are starting, but for different reasons. I think Saba, there was some schedule congestion with the international break that came into play. I think he starts because he's an unbelievable player. I think Wolf, this is just me, I would start Wolf because after that unbelievable goal against Miami, I want him to feel confident in his ability. I want him to feel confident in the trust that the team puts in him.
Hey, ask for the Wolf Man.
That's right. We're gonna ask for the Wolf Man tonight, not Donna. And the reason being is that as a young player, we want to show him, hey, look, we got schedule rotation, man. This is part of it. And because you've been playing so well when called upon, you're getting rewarded with a start. So go out there and show us something. I just think that's how that's going to roll. As far as, I have questions about whether Muyumba starts. I mean, he's been just running like a man possessed. So I have questions whether Muyumba starts, but I would like him to and go from there. The back line just looks far more confident when Muyumba's in front of him. And as far as the rest of it goes, I think it can just play out. But I want to see what Tiare does. I want to see Jean de Silva. Almada's, of course, going to play. But Muyumba, to me, is a question mark. And but I think you got to start Saba. It's Saba time, baby. Rolex. It is Rolex time when Saba steps on the field.
Saba 316 says, I just started and kicked your ass. Okay, so Jordan wanted to know about yellow card accumulation. So here's the numbers on that. Player accrues 5 yellows. It's a $250 fine and a suspension from his next MLS regular season match. Player gets an additional 3, meaning 8 total. It's a $500 fine and a suspension from the next regular season match. So, Jordan, it is 5 and then again at 8. Then it's again at 11, $750 fine and a suspension. Then if you get 13 yellows, it's $1,000 and a suspension. Then for each 2 yellows after the player's 4th suspension, so 15, 17, 19, etc., the player is suspended from his next regular MLS season match and the fine is doubled. So 5th is $2,000. 6th is 4, etc., etc., etc. So 5, 8, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, etc. But once you get to 15, your fines start to double. 15 total, 5th suspension, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, etc., etc., etc. So there's your regular season cautions and suspensions. But the good behavior incentive, a player will automatically reduce his yellow card accumulation total by 1 yellow card each time he appears in 5 consecutive matches without receiving a yellow, a red, or supplemental discipline from the league. For clarity, a player cannot have a negative yellow card accumulation total. The good behavior incentive can only reset to a 0 card total. And that would be like after 25 matches. Incentive will be automatically applied a maximum of 3 times throughout the course of an MLS regular season. So that is where that is. So that is your good behavior. So if Gigi is 1 game away, how many yellows does Gigi have? That's the first question. Because then if you take your numbers. And we go statistics. All right. So let's go statistics here. How many yellows? Let's workshop this, as we always say here on the show. So statistics for Gigi Club. Where's my statistics? I have club stats. Here we go. Okay. All right. So Gigi's got 7 yellows. He's working on his 8th, which would be the 500 and a and the next regular season match. So let's see. So if it's 8, then he would have to. So if you're 7 and you're hovering on 7, the question is, to take the math backward, how many matches has he hovered on 7? That's the question. How many matches has he had 7 yellow cards? Because if he gets to his 5th, it goes back to 6, and then he gets the extra wiggle room.
Yeah, a train leaves Milwaukee at 4 p.m. carrying 6,000 tons of iron ore. Who knows, man?
Correct. Basically.
I haven't had enough coffee for this.
I haven't either, and I don't drink coffee. I'm right there.
I graduated from a Paulding County high school. I don't possess the ability to handle these math problems like this.
One thing that came out this morning from Tom Bogert, something to keep an eye on, and it was a one-liner. And I do want to get your thoughts on Matko Miljevic before we go. Representative, this is from 40 minutes ago. A representative for American goalkeeper Josh Cohen filed a complaint to MLS alleging Atlanta United violated MLS discovery processes. Atlanta, they allege, negotiated in bad faith to keep him on their discovery list. So, from Tom Bogert, in a complaint to the league viewed and verified by The Athletic, and this is Bogert's words. In Major League Soccer, unattached players have to be signed via the discovery process. In the discovery process, each MLS team maintains a list, the discovery list, of up to 7 players that will have priority right to sign ahead of any other MLS team. Teams can then either negotiate a deal with the player or trade the player's discovery rights to another club. Cohen is on Atlanta United's discovery list, had been in negotiations to join the club after spending the previous 4 years with Maccabi Haifa, where he appeared in Champions League, won 3 titles, named 2021 Footballer of the Year in Israel. Contract expired this summer, and the keeper wanted to pursue opportunities in MLS or elsewhere. 2023 MLS roster rules stated team must make a genuine, objectively reasonable offer to keep a player on their discovery list within days if another MLS club offers $50,000 in GAM for the player's discovery rights. In the complaint, Cohen's reps allege Atlanta offered a deal that was well below market value for Cohen. However, the complaint does not specify whether another club offered Atlanta the requisite allocation money. According to the complaint, Atlanta's final contract proposal to Cohen before the roster freeze on September 15 would have placed him on the twos for the rest of the season. With Atlanta holding his rights, Cohen could not negotiate with other MLS clubs despite not being under contract. Complaint has requested MLS remove Cohen from Atlanta's discovery list. Also states they will not negotiate with Atlanta in the future. Atlanta United provided the following statement to Tom Bogert, quote, "We are aware of the complaint, but per club policy, we won't comment on contract negotiations nor on an ongoing complaint," end quote. MLS declined comment. Cohen can still sign abroad right now. Free agents aren't beholden to transfer windows closing. But if he wants to pursue Major League Soccer, he'll have to wait until the winter ahead of the 24 season as the roster freeze date passed for the 23 season. And Cohen made 6 appearances Champions League group stage last year with Maccabi Haifa, was included in the U.S. national team camp in June, won 3 titles with Haifa, and made 161 appearances after arriving in 2019, previously featured for Sacramento Republic in USL Championship. So that's just a piece of news that floated out there from Tommy Scoops this morning. And obviously, folks will keep an eye on that. Let's see. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. Oh, actually, required reading. I'll see if I can find the link before we go. It has to do with Red Star Belgrade, or Crvena Zvezda, as they wish to be called, and the fact that they've got Gazprom on their jerseys in Champions League. So keep an eye on that. Let's see. We gave you the update about what's going on in Spain. Marcelino has left Marseille from our friends at Agence France Presse. This is quoting AFP. Marseille have been plunged into crisis 6 weeks into the new season as coach Marcelino Garcia Toral left the French Giants on Wednesday, while the club's president was reportedly considering walking away too after an angry encounter with supporters. Club said in a statement that the confrontation on Monday, quote, prevents Marcelino and his coaching staff from being able to do their jobs in good conditions. As a consequence of this deplorable situation, Marcelino and his staff will not pursue their work at Olympique de Marseille. He was only appointed in June to succeed Igor Tudor. Marseille, unbeaten in 5 into the new domestic season. Supporters were furious with their, and this is AFP's wording, their insipid performance in drawing 0-0 with Toulouse at the weekend. Went out of the Champions League in the third qualifying round, losing on penalties to Panathinaikos, dropping into Europa League instead. Marcelino's departure comes after a meeting on Monday at the club's training center between management and supporters groups. Quote, supporters reps expressed their wish to see the club's current management team resign, Marseille said in an earlier statement, claiming that the fan groups threatened, quote, war, end quote, if that did not happen. The management of OM cannot accept personal threats, the club said, or a relationship based on intimidation. Club president Pablo Longoria and 3 of his closest colleagues all decided late Tuesday to step back from their roles and would consider their positions, a source with knowledge of the situation told AFP. Sources said Longoria and his colleagues were shocked by the language used by the supporters groups. Longoria has a close relationship with his fellow Spaniard Marcelino, of both of whom come from Asturias. Longoria was appointed by American owner Frank McCourt in January of 21 after angry supporters, furious with then-President Jacques-Henri Ayrault, stormed the club's training ground. You'll remember that video. Latest developments come at a disastrous time for the club, who face Ajax in Amsterdam in the Europa League tomorrow, then travel to face PSG on Sunday. A source close to the club said earlier Marcelino set to be replaced on an interim basis by Pancho Abardonado, a former Marseille player currently on the coaching staff, and David Frio, the sporting director. Fans are lovely things, aren't they, Nick?
This is so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
This is so stupid.
Yeah.
Like they relegate. To me, that it's a team that deserves to get relegated, and it's not the players' fault. But that's what. As fans, that's what they deserve.
Yeah.
If you were making threats and threatening war on a team because of a performance, like if you say, you know what, I'm not getting season tickets anymore, perfectly fine, perfectly valid. It is your money. You elect where to put your money. That's fine. But like when Leo Messi had PSG ultras launching flares outside of his house, going nuts. There are little kids in that house, man. You're going too far. When you're threatening referees' lives, it's too far. When you're threatening war on your team because you got sent to the Europa League, it's too far. And you don't deserve investment. You don't deserve that investment. Catania and Palermo had a derby years ago, and there are still signs of that, of the riot that followed that game outside of Catania Stadium. A police officer was killed. Those two teams had not been the same since. Like it went so far, it got so crazy, somebody died, and just now are those teams finding any stability, and just now are those two teams' ownership groups reaching across the aisle to say, hey, look, we need to lift Sicily up as a whole and not be at war with each other. And both of these teams are in the basements of Calcio. As a fan, it's fanatic. I get it. As fans, we want our teams to win nonstop, to be entertaining, to be exciting. If you are threatening anybody within a team, seek professional help immediately. Mm-hmm. And that's not a joke. I really mean that, because it's a matter of time before you do something so absurdly stupid that you end up in handcuffs. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. If you're in your 20s and you're this mad, I'm 43, I can tell you it's not worth it. If you're in your 40s and you're this mad, you need so much help in processing anger. It's not even funny. Why do we even do this, man? Why do we even do this? It's so damn dumb. Mm-hmm. I get the world sucks. I get that pay sucks. I get that job security sucks. I get that housing is unaffordable. I get that there are so many external pressures that we look for any sort of release valve we can find. Take that mess to the gym. Don't take that mess to somebody else's doorstep. I'm tired of seeing stuff on the news about people going nuts and shooting other folks because of some really minor thing, or threatening someone's life because of some really minor thing. This is minor, man. It really is so minor and so stupid. It's not that deep. I get your dad and granddad and your great granddad all supported the team and blah 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 blah. I don't care. I don't care. Just get help. Jesus.
All right, what you can watch. Here's what you can watch today before we go. FS2's got the CPL Valor in Vancouver at 8. Goal TV, you can get that on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You help them out at Fanatis. You help us out here at the network. Universitario and Sport Boys at 9:30. 2 to NA's got your Champions League. Real Madrid, Union Berlin, 12:45. Bayern Munich, Manchester United at 3. Unimas has your simulcast of Real Madrid, Union Berlin. Univision has your simulcast of Bayern and Manchester United. ACC Extra has college soccer at 7. Season Pass, here's your breakdown. Free side of Apple TV. Charlotte, Philly, Columbus, Chicago, DC, Atlanta. Inter Miami, Toronto is not on the free side. Montreal, Cincinnati is on the free side. NYCFC, Orlando City is not. Red Bulls is on the free side. Houston, Vancouver, KC, Nashville, St. Louis, LAFC, Colorado, Seattle are not. RSL Dallas is. Galaxy United, Portland, San Jose are not. Championship on the plus today. Norwich and Leicester at 3. 5 matches in the midweek in USL Championship. You got your review preview on the network as a primer. Listen to it. It's about 20 minutes, maybe 30. League One, about 20 minutes worth of review preview there. 2 matches, including Northern Colorado and North Carolina, 2 of the teams at the top, trying to chase after the top spot in the league. They're both on the road, 8 and 10:30. 5 matches in college, 9 matches for the women's side, 5 on the men's side. Paramount Plus has all of your Champions League action. The 2 matches at 12:45, the 6 at 3. They've got Conference League underway late first half. It is Lille and Olympia going on right now on Paramount Plus. Argentine Primera, doubleheader at 3, doubleheader at 5:30, doubleheader at 8. Bonfield Barracas Central is at 3. Defensa y Justicia is at 3. San Lorenzo is at 5:30. Vélez Sarsfield Arsenal is at 5:30. Racing and Newell's is at 8. Brazilian Brasileiro, 3 matches. 6 has Flamengo and Goiás. Fluminense is at 8:30. Sao Paulo Fortaleza is at 8:30. VIX has your simulcast of the Champions League, the Conference League, Liga MX at 10 o'clock, Querétaro and America. That's the viewing habits for the day. Nick, send us home.
All right. Yeah. Good stuff. Don't do anything stupid. If you feel yourself getting that mad over something, there are numerous crisis lines to call. That is not a joke. That is not sarcasm, because if you're that mad, man alive, you need some help. Until next time, everybody, please take care of each other. Try to make the best of all this stupidity that's happening in this life. This is entertainment. Keep it entertainment. In the meantime, go reach out to our friends over at the Marshall Islands. Score you some of that sweet, sweet gear and help a very, very good cause. Until next time, everybody, mucho, mucho euro, y'all.
25 countries in 24 hours have picked up Marshall Islands gear. You should too, because it helps out a country and it helps out on a deeper cause. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. Peace out. Play it safe.